Thank you. Next, I would like to introduce the Chairman of the Assembly Transportation Committee, Chairman John Wisniewski.
Good afternoon, and to Senator Gordon McGinnis, once a senator, always a senator, and to New Jersey PP, thank you very much for the opportunity to be with you this afternoon to talk about New Jersey's future and my candidacy for governor. We gather here today at a very sobering time in our nation's history. Donald Trump is our president, and he is pursuing a dangerous and destructive agenda. So it is critical that our next governor have the experience to lead our state, have the courage to stand up to President Trump, and be willing to take on the party bosses that determine so much of our state's politics. I've served in New Jersey's General Assembly for the past 21 years, and during that time, I've proven that I am willing to stand up and fight for the middle class of New Jersey. Whether it was taking on our last Goldman Sachs governor's insane plan to privatize and sell the New Jersey Turnpike, to leading the Bridgegate investigation of Governor Chris Christie, at every turn in my 21 years in the legislature, when the party bosses told me to sit down, I instead stood up. So it's time that we had a governor in New Jersey who was willing to stand up to those party bosses and the special interests, and instead fight for the hopes and the dreams of the middle class. Because in New Jersey, our middle class is under siege, and our leadership, frankly, doesn't seem to care. We have seen time and time again policies that have been pursued in this state that benefit the 0.1% at the expense of the hardworking men and women who every day are the ones who actually make New Jersey a success. I believe it's time that we have policies that work for everyone and not just the wealthy and the well-connected. Our next governor is going to inherit a rigged economy. He's going to inherit an economy that does not benefit everyone, but just as importantly, our next governor is going to inherit a rigged political system, a system in which you can literally try and buy a party nomination. Our middle class is paying more and more and getting less. And despite New Jersey being one of the wealthiest states in the nation, we are 7th in income inequality. Over 30% of our fellow citizens live at or below the poverty level. We certainly can do much better. A young person today is certainly no longer guaranteed to have a better life than their parents. So it is time that the next governor of New Jersey focus on rebuilding our middle class. As governor, on day one, to do that, I will sign an executive order that will increase the minimum wage for state employees and state contractors to no less than $15 an hour. And equally, I will ask my legislative leaders to put a bill on my desk that will do the same thing. And I will ask them to act with the speed that we've seen other special interest legislation get done. We've seen things get done in a week, and I would ask no less of legislative leaders to put that bill on my desk within a week. Our middle-class workers are also struggling under the strain of rising property taxes. We see that every day, and we see the answer in front of us. We know that the fastest way to provide property tax relief in New Jersey is to fully fund our public schools. Fully funding the School Funding Reform Act is something that I will make my priority. Now, our current governor says that the School Funding Reform Act is a failure, but the reality is the failure is his unwillingness to recognize the importance of fully funding that formula. But just as equal, we need to have an immediate moratorium on charter schools. This governor's fixation on charter schools has drained resources from our public education system. It has drifted far from the original purpose of charter schools, and unfortunately has resulted in creating a parallel and segregated education system. We certainly can do better. Another key to rebuilding our middle class is addressing the student loan debt crisis. And that's why I'm proposing here in New Jersey tuition-free college and university for New Jersey students who come from families earning less than $125,000 a year. Healthcare is an important issue, and we see as we speak today that in Washington, D.C., steps are being taken to dismantle the Affordable Care Act. That's why I'm proposing here in New Jersey our response. Because today, under the Affordable Care Act, 500,000 New Jerseyans are able to obtain insurance, and through those subsidies, nearly $1 billion comes in to pay those policies. Without it, we need to have our own New Jersey plan, and I'm proposing a New Jersey single-payer health care system for New Jersey residents and employees. We must make sure that in New Jersey, health care is a fundamental human right, not an economic luxury. To rebuild our middle class, we must also create new, good-paying jobs by transitioning our state economy to a clean energy economy. We must face the climate emergency that is real and that has been ignored by this governor and is now being ignored at the highest levels in Washington, D.C. So under my administration, on day one, we will acknowledge the fact of climate change. We will acknowledge the fact that it is a danger to our future and our economy, and we will make sure that we are addressing it. So under my administration, New Jersey's clean energy program, which currently is being used as a slush fund to balance the state budget, will actually go to the purpose it was intended. To make sure that we're using it to help homeowners and businesses and municipalities transition into the clean energy economy, because we recognize that by doing that, we will reinvigorate and create jobs in an area of the economy that has languished for the past 7 years. We must expand our investment here in New Jersey in solar and wind energy, because that's not only going to help create jobs, but it's going to help reduce the pollution that contributes to climate change. We must also expand PACE, the Property Assessed Clean Energy Program, to provide financing for retrofitting buildings, for new industrial commercial centers to include a requirement that they include cheaper and cleaner alternative energy solutions at the time they are approved. And as chairman of the Assembly Transportation Committee, I bring a familiarity and expertise on how New Jersey should be making its strategic infrastructure investments across the state. These investments have to focus on providing accessible transportation to affordable housing and employment hubs. We see that that is not the case today. New Jersey's transportation infrastructure underserves working people, particularly populations of color, who largely rely on our public transportation system. To address our aging infrastructure, I want to start a statewide public works program that first addresses public transportation. Because as Senator McGinnis said this morning, New Yorkers who want a backyard won't move to New Jersey if they can't rely on a public transportation system to get to work every day. I couldn't agree more, and I would add that we must create that system to make New Jerseyans can get to work and home efficiently and affordably. And as we seek to expand our economy and create new jobs, we must focus on every region of the state. We have to revitalize Atlantic City. Unlike my opponent who has suggested sending in a SWAT team to Atlantic City, I would stand shoulder to shoulder with the men and women who run Atlantic City to help them recover. As governor, I will end the state takeover Atlantic City and instead work with them to develop an economy that is not just based on casino gambling. Let us be clear, New Jersey has every ingredient to be the economic leader of the Eastern Seaboard. We have everything a state could possibly dream of: the people, the universities, the transportation hubs, the strategic location, the waterways. We have it all. What we've lacked is leadership. For 12 years, we have relied on inexperienced leadership trying to govern with Wall Street gimmicks or bullying tactics or the greed of personal ambition, and none of it worked. It is time we put the values and dreams of the middle-class, hardworking New Jerseyans ahead of Wall Street profits and transactional party bosses. We must recognize the power of a progressive governor coupled with Democratic majorities in both houses can transform our state. We must put an end to the politics that has held us back and embrace a progressive, transformative agenda. Some people say that what I'm talking about is impossible, but I disagree, because with the right kind of leadership, nothing is impossible. Thank you very much.